Good morning, YouTube. So today, what we're gonna do is I'm installing a brake controller for this 2002 LX470. Now, I know that some of these 100 series Land Cruisers did come with brake wiring for the brake controller. Mine only has the flat 4 in the rear, so that's a plus. I don't have to wire up all the lights. All I need to do is add a 7-pin, because on my next episode I'm going to do a walk around of the trailer that I purchased, and all of its features and why I actually purchased that. And I'm not really quite getting away from tent camping, but it's for the wife. So anyways, this will be a quick install video. I'll show you the brake controller that I purchased. I'll put a link to the brake controller and the 7-pin connector down in the description below, as well as some of the things that I'm adding to this, so it's not just a brake controller. It's going to also have a chargeback system so that I can charge the battery on my trailer as I'm driving down the road. So let's go see some of the parts that I have and the tools that we're going to need. So what I'm going with is, and I bought this on, I believe it was on Amazon. It's a CURT dual output adapter. So what it does, it has a 7-pin, and then also you can use a 4-pin, and it comes with a bracket and all the wiring. So I'll install that in the back. What this does is it'll tie into the current 4-pin that's back there. And then I'm going with Takancha P3, and I tow quite a bit. I have a 38 foot fifth wheel, and I am a real big fan of the Prodigy brake controller. And so this one is actually an upgrade from the Prodigy that I have, and it has a couple more features, and has some storable settings. So I probably should install this on my truck and then just use the other Prodigy and throw it in the Lexus, but I'm going to install this in here, and they're interchangeable. I can take them out. So with this, if you to install this into your Lexus, you're going to need some resettable circuit breakers. So I have one 40 amp circuit breaker, and that right there is going to be for the chargeback system. And then I have another resettable circuit breaker, a 20 amp, and that'll be for the brake controller. And then to tie this into a brake switch, I was able to locate an actual wire that is by the kick panel on the driver's side, and then you'll need this little guy right here to splice into that wire. You could do another way too. You can cut and splice and use butt connectors or solder them. I'm just going to go this route because it looks like there's not going to be enough wiring to actually cut and splice and do a good job. So what you also need to do is get 12 or 14 gauge wire, depending on the distance that you're running it, and that's going to go all the way from the front of the vehicle all the way back to the plug that you're going to install. One will be for the actual trailer brakes, and then the other one will be for the chargeback. What I found that was cool is that the two bolts right here, actually, this bracket actually fits those two holes. So I just used the factory bolts that were already there and put that bracket on. So it's pretty self-explanatory as far as how you hook up this bracket and the 7-way pin, or the 7-way plug, and then you have this 4-way that's going to go right here. I am going to take these wires, maybe wrap them in electrical tape or put some conduit around it, and then try to zip tie it a little far back so it doesn't snag on anything. Now, Disclaimer, this is just a temporary solution for this trip. I will eventually replace this entire bumper, hopefully with either a Descent or a Trail Tailor or just one of those other ones. I mean, there's so many good brands. If you guys have any recommendations on a rear bumper tire carrier, let me know, because I will be in the market as soon as I get back from this trip. And so let's go on into the wiring. So what I've done here, connected the flat 4 male end from the 7-pin to the flat 4 female that is part of the factory wiring for the Lexus. What I'm going to do now is let's test it, make sure that the turn indicators are working for the trailer. Success! Now what we need to do is figure out a good spot to put the brake controller. So I've seen people, sorry, that's probably really close. I've seen people put it right here in the ashtray, and it actually looked like it was a perfect fit, and then all the wires are hidden. I'm gonna put mine right there. It's pretty much where on any of my other vehicles on my truck that I've always had my brake controller on my right side. So I will put it right there, and then we'll run the wiring underneath. So let's get to it. You know, it's always good to have a plan on how you're going to do this. So don't drill the holes just yet. Kind of mock it up, see how it's going to go, see if you're going to like where the wires are going to fit. Read the instructions, because this controller has to be installed at a certain angle, or 90 degrees. So, and then what I like to do is I like to take the wiring, we'll plug this in, and just we'll see where the wiring goes, how far it's hanging. So yeah, I'm thinking right about there. That gives me a short distance. I could wrap the wires up inside. They'll be well hidden. That gives me a perfect angle for the controller, and I could reach the controls and also read the display easily. Alright, so to get to the turn signal source, or I'm sorry, the brake source, right, there's a line here that's inside that we need to tap into. So we're going to pop this little kick panel off. And this panel kicks off as well. I believe there might be a bolt back there somewhere. And they say that you got to take this out, but I have yet to figure out how to take this guy off. And the bottom is off, but a little finesse, I guess. Well, maybe if you just undo the little bolt in the very back. Right. This guy will come out. Looks like I have some extra wiring in here from maybe an old, maybe an alarm or something. So the wire, this is what it is. Right here, the white wire is your ground wire. So we'll find some place in here. They do say that to run this white wire all the way back to your battery. So that's what I'll probably end up doing, is I'll just run this all the way to the negative side of the battery, because it's going to be grounded at the battery. The blue wire will go all the way back to your 7-pin connector. The red wire is for your stop lamp. So we're going to go look over here near the kick panel, the connection or the wire that whenever I press the brake pedal, it'll give me electricity, and then it'll activate. And then the black wire goes all the way to the battery, to the positive side. Actually, it'll go into an inline resettable fuse or circuit breaker, 20 amp, and then it'll go to the battery. So I got this off of the forums, off of Mud. So get yourself a test light. And on Mud, there's a couple different ways. There's one guy that says you take off the panel just above by your knees, and then you look for this white connector that isn't being used, and one of those connectors way up high in there is the connector that you use. And then another guy says, oh, well, you just take off the little kick panel on the driver's side, peel back one of the this conduit here and look for the white and green wire, which I believe is the second one in, right? That guy right there. Take your test light, put it in the hole just right next to it, right? You'll make metal contact, hit your brakes, and it should light up. That right there is your brake circuit. And so they say splice into that and connect your red wire to it, and you should be good to go to activate the brake controller. So whenever you press the brakes, it'll power up the brake controller, which will then send a signal to the 7-pin connector, which will therefore transfer that power to the rear brakes. Make sure that the wires are in there. It appears they are. Now, another way to test it. So the red wire for the brake controller isn't long enough. So what I did is I took my test light, I'm gonna put it right there, I'm gonna hit the brake, and it's passed on that power. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and I'm going to use brown because that's what I have. It's in a large enough gauge, and I'm going to run this from the engine compartment back into the passenger compartment through a hole that's right here in a grommet. This is going to be the power wire. This is going to go to the positive of the battery, which also you'll need to have that resettable circuit breaker. So I have my power cable, I have my resettable circuit breaker. My blue line is tucked under here. All under here. I've already closed this all up. Behind the speaker, through here, and now I have to take all this stuff out because there's a grommet that's right underneath the spare tire that I could drop this blue line in and attach it so that I could actually have brakes. It is hot. By hot, I mean it's above 80 degrees. But it's a little humid here in lovely San Diego. So wiring this thing is pretty easy because you get the instructions from the brake controller, plus you get the instructions from the CURT 7-pin plug. What I've done is I've already ran a wire all the way back for the brakes. And then as far as a chargeback system, I already have power back here. I'm just gonna add a fuse and then drop a wire in. And what I did is I've already buttoned it up because it was really dirty. So I kind of started geeking out and started vacuuming up. But there is a plug, a plastic plug here, and there's one over here. I didn't run anything on this side because that's the exhaust side. And I just didn't feel like having wires drop down close to the exhaust. I dropped it in on this side, just drilled a hole right inside the that plastic plug. It's tucked really high up there. I would suggest that if you're in some sort of wet climate or snow, just throw a couple dabs of silicone around that. That's what I did on both sides. And I tapped in power from here because I have a nice 10 gauge wire that goes all the way back here. This is just an auxiliary port. A fuse is going to be on the inside here because that's where all the wires are. Then they run all the way down. I have my blue wire that goes down for the brakes, and then also a black wire that's going to go for the chargeback system. I went and took it for a spin. You know, this is my first time actually towing this trailer. It's about almost 2,000 pounds dry. And the Lexus did fine. It says that I got about 8.1 miles, average miles per gallon. We'll see. I mean, that's a scan gauge, who knows. And, you know, I've already changed the radiator, did spark plugs, did the ignition coils, and it's doing great. So that's my neighbor. He just texted me, you want a cold one? Yes, I do. He's having a rough day. His father passed away, so anyways, hey, thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions or you are interested in this brake controller, leave me a comment below and I will I'll get back to you. And as always, please like and subscribe. Thank you.